being with us on the music portion of Talk Saratoga. Right now we're going to go into our show, so get a cup of coffee while the intro's playing and get ready to enjoy an informational show and call us in with any questions. I'll give you the number once we get going, so stay with us and we'll have fun this morning, and I know you will too. So just wait for the document to load up here. I hit the open and close button, so bear with us here and we'll get right on it.
The show may not be those of the host, guests, or WSPN Skidmore Radio. Talk Saratoga is produced by Saratoga Broadcasting Incorporated.
Chris,
and may
one
not
chair.
be
Yeah, I just got one.
You got one?
Yeah,
we're good. We're
What's our
good.
number here, Rick?
What's that? 580-5783.
Saratoga, Rick Thompson and a Saratoga All-Star.
Good morning and welcome to Talk Saratoga. Today is May 4th and it's kind of special in a couple different ways. First, it's Vince's birthday. Happy birthday, Vince.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you.
Okay. And today we have Chris and Vince from Tech Monkeys. And if you want to go to their website, it's tech-monkeys.com. Also, today is special because it's a Kentucky Derby Day. And a good friend of mine up at the school that I bring the kids to up in Queensbury, she's due today to deliver a baby boy, and she thought she was going to go early, and I promised her that I was visited by Dominic the Italian donkey, and he said that she was going yesterday. Well, needless to say, she didn't, and when I went up and dropped my kids off, she came tearing out of the building ready to punch me out because she's ready to go. And so I hope she has her baby this weekend, and it's healthy, she's happy, and her husband have a lot of work to do. So we'll get to the show now. Tech Monkeys are on every other Saturday. The guest had a conflict today, so I asked them to be on for the whole hour because we're pretty much booked up until the end of June, and that's when we end the show for the summer because I work at the track and I can't, just make it in the morning. So I wanted them in today because we have an awful lot to talk about, and I'm going to have Vince and Chris give us some topics here this morning, and I know one of them is they're offering a free service for evaluations, and I'm going to let them talk about that first because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Rick. So, we definitely offer free network evaluations for businesses. We just started doing that. It's a great thing. It really is, because you can have us come in, pretty much sample the services without having to pay anything. There's no obligation. It's risk-free. It's not going to cost you anything. We come in, we evaluate the network, we look at the server, we check all the logs. We find the security issues. If there's possibilities of viruses getting in, any kind of security breaches, pretty much any issues that you might have or that you might have in the future because of the setup that you have. Bottom line is, we spend a couple hours there. We do a full network health check. There's about 30 points to that. When we're done, we will present you with the report, and one of our engineers will sit there. We'll go over it with the, the business owner, let them know exactly what they should be doing, what they should be upgrading, how much it's going to cost them to have the best, the best service from their equipment going forward. And of course, offer them the 24/7 support from us as well. In the end, we like to make them a client, but that's not the way it has to go. If they meet us, they get their evaluation, decide not to do any business with us, that's fine too. We're glad to help them out for the day.
Well, I know people that that you've had contact and have done work for that know me have raved about you too. And
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
I mean, it's not so much that me telling them, but when they do go to you, they're very, very happy with you guys and with your services, and can't believe how cost effective it is. And you know, the one thing I tell them is that you're never going to get taken advantage of or feel like you are on the first visit, because usually everybody tries to upsell, and you check everything out, and then you just make suggestions, and if they want to go with you, they go with you. If not, you say thank you and consider us in the future.
That's exactly right.
And that's awesome, you know.
And that's all we're looking to do.
Yeah, pretty much. And you know, it helps them out, but you know, more importantly is that in the end they're going to know, you know, what they're dealing with their equipment. They're going to know what kind of problems they might be facing, and they're going to know the best way to set their stuff up the way it should be, and you know, at the best cost for them.
Well,
yeah, at a no cost.
Right, at no cost for the
That's a
first
no-brainer.
evaluation.
Well, yeah,
Exactly. Our phone number in the studio is 518-580-5783. Don't hesitate to call and ask a question about your computer, or you know, if you have a relative that's having problems with the computer, give us a call. Don't be afraid. We've got a voice modulator on here, so nobody will know who's calling. But
that means we can turn them in, a man into a woman and a woman into a man.
That's right. That's right. But I've got 3 pages here of questions that people had sent me, had emailed me. So you know, we'll get into them in a little bit. But I think one of the good things of having a company like yours is that the first thing that people do when they have some what they consider major problems where their computer is, oh, I have to go out and buy a new computer. And a lot of times that's not the case. Sometimes it might be, but a lot of times it isn't.
Definitely not the case.
So to have you come in and do an evaluation and say, you know, your computer, we can save this thing.
Right, especially you know, some people will just bring it to some of the, you know, big box stores, and what they'll do there is they'll just wipe out their hard drive and give them a fresh install of Windows. When they didn't even have to do that.
Yeah.
They could have just fixed Windows and had their data, you know, saved, and then been on their way. And then, but no, the big box stores push to, you know, because they're not really trained that well.
No, and they want to upsell.
They want to upsell you. They want to try to get you into, you know, a contract with them, when that's not even necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you ever heard the term chop shop with cars?
Yep.
You know, you have the same type of thing. They're basically reload shops. You know, you go in, no matter what your problem is, they're not going to troubleshoot it. They're not going to fix it. Their immediate reaction is going to be, we reset the windows, everything goes back to factory settings, and, you know, good luck putting it all back together.
Go for there, yeah.
You know, pretty much that's what it is. Then they're going to say, well, you got to back up your data. They're going to hit you for charges for things that you may not have had to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Like Chris said.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I have, you know, while we're on this, you know, I have a couple of questions from people. You know, let me find them, because I was going to get into these later. But while we're talking about this topic, because I know we've got more to talk about.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see some of the questions that came in.
One of them
actually.
is, I mean, some of these people must know a little something, because the terminology they use, you know, I don't know if they picked it up on an internet search or trying to, and they didn't get satisfaction. But one of the people emailed me and said, my problem is a couple weeks ago my PC started randomly shutting down and booting up, and almost all cases straight up again. No blue screen, no warning, nothing. Like you cut the power. Sometimes it happens 3 times in 20 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't happen for like 48 hours. Also, it happens when the PC starts booting up. So I'm unable to pinpoint what's wrong. He tried a Google search and it said it could be a faulty RAM, but Windows 10 ran a diagnostic showing nothing. He said his power supply is thermal take.
Mm-hmm. It's just a
600.
manufacturer.
Yeah, and he said, can you give an idea of what might happen? And he has no sounds of motherboard damage or any other sound when he's booting up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that sound like something that you've seen in the past?
Definitely.
Yeah, boot loops are very, very common. Finding out exactly what the cause is more of a challenge.
Yeah, you have to try to figure out first if it's hardware or the software end.
Yeah, I mean, in a case like that, with that particular question, I would go, my gut's telling me to go right to software. It's on the software side, there could be a couple different things. A bad driver, a corrupted driver will cause that. It's possible even bad Windows update that it might have taken is causing that. Those are the things that we need to rule out, but also, could be related to a board or a power issue. Definitely.
Right. In Windows, they have an event log, so you'd want to go and check your event log to see what's going on actually with the software, to see if there's a driver issue, and to see what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And that'll kind of direct you in which way you got to go.
Yeah, and the first step to that, Chris, like as you know, is going to be trying to get into the safe mode. You're going to boot the computer into a safe mode. Once you get in there, if you can boot into the safe mode, there's no issues, the problem does not persist, we got a pretty good idea that it's a driver issue.
Sure. So Jim, give them a call at 518-450-8635 or 518-430-8653. So just reverse the last two numbers. They'll come over and diagnose the computer and give you just what they did now, a list of maybe what you should do, what you need, and you go from there. One of the things that I have questions of, because as Chris knows, I'm computer illiterate, but there's some terminology that I think people don't understand, but yet, if you're trying to fool around with your computer and troubleshoot it, that come up. Like one of them is networking. And if you have a single computer, the networking, what is that? So, I mean, what would it pertain to?
Well, Vince, you're an expert at networking, so let's touch on that subject.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. It is. For the most part, networking involves more than one device. Okay, that's kind of, the definition of it. Now, multiple devices, as I explained at one point at one of the past shows about information hiding, which is good because I wanted to get into a little bit of that today with firewall security and things like that. So, from the internet standpoint, it sees every network as one public IP address. What's behind that IP could be thousands of devices. The communication between the devices within the network is what creates a network. Now, there are different types of networks where we have LAN, we have WAN for the most part. Those are the two basics. LAN is your local area network. That's what I'm talking about. Everything internal, one inside the network, okay? And then you have your WAN, your wireless your WAN. Now, your WAN is your internet side. That is the public side, okay? So, networking also consists of what goes on outside of your network. So, communicating with DNS servers, going online, seeing the internet, that's all networking as well. It just happens in different areas. Okay. What happens in your LAN is private to your LAN.
Okay. Now, also, on the business side, networking can mean another thing also, couldn't it? I mean, if you've got like a main computer that employees can get into to enter their specific data, is that also a network?
That's the heartbeat of their operation.
Well, now you're talking about a server.
Okay.
And that's basically how a network works. You will have one centralized computer, your server, that hosts databases, hosts software applications, hosts different things that the users share. Especially the data, Word documents, Excel documents, whatever it may be. And there's different types of servers. Some companies host their own email. They have their own Exchange server in-house. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about today a little bit too, was migrating people away from Exchange. When you have 10, 20 people and you're serving email in-house for it, you're paying a lot for those licenses.
Okay.
Another thing we do is migrate to the cloud. We push O365.
All right,
Have people push from the cloud.
So that's another direction. Go ahead.
Right. Why not make it easy? And so that's what we're here for. To go to your business, take a look at your operation, and evaluate it and tell you, what's the best solution, what's the least cost efficient, way to go, and less maintenance, less downtime. That's what we're here to do for the business, and we're going to do this for free. So, anybody out there that's listening that has a business or knows someone that has a business that would like us to come, to their business, feel free to give us a call. It's a no-brainer.
And you'll do that free evaluation.
Yeah, it's free, and we'll check it out, and we'll make sure that everything is running the way it's supposed to, and we'll make suggestions to make it run 100% efficient.
Exactly.
Sure. And now, I mean, here again, I'm just asking because you may have touched it, but I didn't understand it. But also, when you go into businesses, you can tell them, you may be able to combine, because now you know what they're doing, that you may be able to combine some steps to make it easier for your employees to, is that something that could be done or no? Is it just...
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. There's many times, I've gone into a business for an evaluation, and initially you're going to see more servers than they need, for example.
Okay.
Or sometimes not enough. You never know what you're going to find. But there are a lot of times where they're using a lot more than they need, or they're using different mixes of equipment that aren't really necessary, or may not even be that compatible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right,
exactly. That's big right there. Not compatible.
Yep.
So if you have one system that's not compatible with another, it's not going to have a good handshake. So it's
right.
It's it's going to be slow. You could possibly lose data.
Yeah.
So
a good example of that is gigabit network. Everybody's running at a gigabit for the most part now. The regular standard was 10100 in a day. One 10100 device, like a printer or a scanner or something like that, that's old and out of date on the network, will bring the entire network speed down to that speed.
Oh, it will.
So having a gigabit network means nothing if someone plugs in one device that isn't compatible.
Right. Or if your operating system is corrupted, and you're getting errors. When you try to run like QuickBooks or you try to run, anything, it's just not going to work right. It's going to be slow. It's going to hang. It's going to give you errors. That's all stuff that we would correct.
Yeah, and we do that in the initial assessment. We test the cabling. We test the line speeds. We test all that, bandwidth speeds.
And hookups and make sure that there's...
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, say your internet provider, say it's Spectrum or whatever,
right?
And they're selling you a package. They're saying, okay, we're going to give you this upload and this download speed, but in reality, it might not be that. Okay,
sure.
So we could go in there and we would test all that and make sure you're getting the correct upload and download speed.
Yeah.
So you're getting what you're paying for. Okay, or they could be sending out this the information to you in those speeds, but the system that you have receiving it is not up to date, or it's old, and it's not going to give you that speed in your system.
And a lot of times we do find also businesses using residential equipment. You know what I mean? You'll go in somewhere where they need security and they're using, a cheap Linksys router.
Yeah, they're trying to cut the cost.
Yeah.
Trying to save money by using something that's residential when it shouldn't be used for residential.
Or no firewall at all because they figure, well, Spectrum's equipment does that, right?
Right.
No, not quite.
Yeah, and they wonder why their system's not working right.
So what they're doing is they're trying to get out of the cheapest way they can, but it's not the efficient way for their business.
Right. And then in the long run, it's going to cost them more money.
Absolutely.
More money.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I have a printer that's probably maybe 8 or 9 years old.
And it still works?
Yeah, it's really
that's amazing.
it's really a good. It really is a good printer. It's one of those 3-in-1 things. I don't know how to scan with it, but it really is a good printer. But saying that is, it's one of the big square ones.
Yeah.
But saying that now, I think my computer is probably newer. My laptop is newer than that. So there may be a problem with the speed because I know it's running a little slower, the internet, and we had the repair guy there and he said, oh, everything looks fine. But you're paying for faster speed and it's not doing it. So could that be something that slows down the...
Well, when they come into your house, they're checking your speed to make sure that they're sending the signal that speed is getting to your house. But after that, doesn't matter. They don't care what happens.
That's right.
So that's when we come in to make sure that we're taking that speed and it's translating into your computer so that there's no blocks.
Right.
Well, yeah, and the ISP is only responsible for the signal up to their router.
Right.
And their modem. So, he tests it from the modem. He gets a good signal on his phone, usually is how they do it real quick.
Yeah, they do.
And he'll be like, all right, it looks good. See ya.
We're good.
They
Yep.
don't do any networking.
No.
If you had 4 computers in the house, they're not going to help you get the other ones online or anything
Exactly.
like
Or your business, they're not going to help you do.
No.
Sure.
It's not what they do.
that. No.
Okay, because here, I want to get into the security, phishing, and spam, but I think this question here is another question that piggybacks onto this. He says that when I run games on my PC, they run at a solid 60 FPS
Frames
with
per second.
decently good engine graphic. However, when I try to use a browser, pages are lost and pages load really slow. I've had this PC for 4 months and it's starting to slow down. Videos hesitating and partially breaking up, and sometimes a restart is needing to get into the internet.
Yeah.
So this is a new computer.
Yep.
So obviously, he should be calling you guys to come in and find out what the heck is
There's
going
something
on.
going on. He's got 4 months of use. That whatever he's doing is wherever he's going on the internet, or it could be a million things.
He would need a tune-up optimization from us. That's the first thing. We'd go in, we'd optimize the machine, clear all the temp folders, everything like that. Make sure everything's up to date, get it running as fast as we can get it running. Software side.
Yeah. And his maybe his browser that he's using. Is not a good browser.
Or it's or it's likely that he might even have some corruption in the browser.
Sure.
Exactly. I think you just worked on something like that.
All the time. We just had something like that recently, actually, where the browser get corrupted for one of our clients. And, his antivirus picks up nothing. It detects no threat. Hey, there's nothing wrong here, because that's a different thing. Extensions get into your browser. Once they're allowed to run, it's a whole different thing. It can present ads to you, all kinds of things that you don't want happening. And it won't show up as a browser. Your antivirus program will not clean that. We actually have to go in, clean it, reset the browser, and get it back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's something that I do that my wife doesn't, and she says that I should be doing, and I tend to leave my computer on and not restart it for days.
I get this question all the time.
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it good to shut it down every night?
Here's the thing.
Mixed bag.
It is. It could go. Here's what I tell people. If you shut your computer down, I'd say at least once a week so that it recycles itself.
Okay.
Okay. If you leave it on, you could potentially, the thing's on. You could get hacked. You could get a virus.
It's a mixed bag.
It's tough. But I'd say not a problem leaving it on.
No, not at all. I actually tell people to leave it on
all
the time. If you're using it on a daily basis, there's no reason to ever shut it off. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah. She shuts it off if she's going to go in the kitchen and cook and then come in and turn it back on.
It's a misconception that actually started in networks, where an administrator would come out and say, I want everybody to shut off their computer every night when you leave the building after work, and it became a habit. Reason is for security. They don't want the computers on when no one's working on them. People can get in front of them. They can get in.
Yeah.
All right, now, the thing is, though, is as far as the health of your computer, it's better to either leave it off as much as possible or leave it on as much as possible. Bottom line is when it's running hot and you shut it off, it goes cold. And then you turn it on, it gets hot again. Hot, cold, hot, cold. The more you do that, the more wear and tear on the internal components.
Okay.
From heating up and cooling.
Yep.
They expand and contract.
Sure.
Yep.
All right.
It's better to run hot all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why don't we talk a little bit about firewall technologies?
Absolutely.
And, what's involved with that? Because I think a lot of people, a lot of people don't understand about their computers or what should be done. So, and they always think, well, I'm depending on my hardware manufacturer to automatically put that in.
Yeah,
so
right.
I don't have to worry. But why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it earlier when we started talking about networking questions that you had with, started talking about the server a little bit. But bottom line is, when the internet looks at you, it only sees your public IP, which we've talked about. Now, what does that mean exactly? Like, what's going on exactly? What's happening is, your ISP is connecting you to the internet through them, and they're giving you a public IP address for your network. Now, what you're going to have is you're going to have a firewall device. You should have a firewall device, some sort of a router at the front of your network.
That's hardware.
That's hardware. We deal with a lot of different firewalls. For the most part, we deal with Fortinet if we have our choice, FortiGate, but that's not what we see. We see all kinds of different firewalls, so we're prepared for all of them at all times. But what that does is that protects you. All traffic filters through that device. So, all your security measures, like stopping spam email, for example, which is something we're going to get into, things like that, everything happens at that level. Anything that needs to be blocked, if it's blocked at that level, it's never going to make it inside your network. So this is where you want to put your security. Or even ahead of your firewall, you can set up DMZ zones for extra security, where you might want to have some things that are exposed to the internet, like an Exchange server. You're serving your own email, that Exchange server needs to be exposed to the internet. Now it's in a DMZ where it's susceptible to attack. So now you have to protect that even further. Okay, another level of security comes into play. But the bottom line is your firewall is your first line of defense. There it is. Behind that firewall, you're probably going to have at least one server or more, and those are going to centralize all the applications that the people need to use, going to centralize all the data that the people need to access, and run most of the services, like backing up, things like that. They're all going to be handled through the server. And internal services. The same thing that goes on outside, the same way the internet actually works using DNS, to resolve numbers to names like we talked about at one point. The same thing happens inside your network. Matter of fact, I would say that a good 80% of failure within a network comes down to DNS. Problem with the DNS. Because it does the same thing internally, knowing all the different computers. Vince is sending Chris a message. How do I know that? How I'm trying to send a file to Chris. How do I know where Chris is? By its IP address internally.
Yeah, remember Vince? We just had a business that we worked with that their system was running slow, but it actually turned out to be a firewall issue.
Yes.
Okay. And that was causing their system to run slow. And the handshake between that and QuickBooks.
Yeah, the problem was their QuickBooks database lives in the cloud. So every time they're accessing their database and changing things, it's going through the internet back in, back out, back in.
Through the firewall.
Through the firewall. And the firewall was not configured properly, so something that should take 10 seconds was taking 10 minutes.
Okay.
Right. So, again, the free evaluation, we go to your business, we take a look at that.
Yeah.
If your firewall is not set up correctly, and you're experiencing, slow, processes, that could be the issue.
Okay.
And we would go there and we'll do it for free.
So your firewall basically is your first line of defense for your computer protection, so that it kind of filters out what gets into the computer.
Absolutely. And security services, like let's say you want to control your internet activity in-house. You say, there's certain websites I just don't want people going to at all. I want content filtering. I want it blocked. I want to see where they're going, and I want to make sure they don't go to porno sites or known phishing sites, things like that.
Right. If you have kids, you could set that up.
You could do it home for your kids, or you could do it for a whole company through a firewall.
Want their employees to be able to get on the internet to
exactly.
Spend their half a day.
Well, you know what?
Just searching Google.
Content filtering. A lot of people balk at it. Oh, I don't want to limit what my people can do. If they want to use Facebook, let them. But guess what? When you have a server with important financial data, it only takes one user surfing the wrong site. To bring in ransomware that's going to cost you serious money, or you might even lose your data.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there's a reason why employers do that.
Absolutely.
It's not to punish the employee, but it's to protect everybody else's computer in their
to protect their business.
Yeah. It only takes one ransomware or a good worm to find its way through a network.
Right.
And you have serious issues.
You see in these movies where one of the employees will be on the internet, and then a clown will appear on every other network and say, "You've been hacked," but that's a scenario that possibly could happen.
It could happen.
That could
yeah.
definitely happen.
You know, I mean, with security today, and I want to touch on like email security, and you know, phishing and spam.
Yeah.
But security today, I don't know if people realize how important it is, because with all the hackers out there creating all these programs,
Yeah.
I mean, your computer is very susceptible to be hit. So you want what's on there to be working and protecting you. And
Yeah.
you go to a business or a home and evaluate to tell them, you know, you should have this. This is this is your first line of defense. This is going to protect your computer. And now we'll get into email security on computers.
That's another thing. You know, like you're saying, viruses are one thing, spyware is one thing. Phishing, spam, things like that, whole nother animal. You know, because you don't have to really be doing anything wrong or visiting any malicious websites to open the wrong email. You know, or not be able to recognize that something that looks like it's coming from someone you do business with, whether it be, you know, PayPal, eBay, Amazon, whatever, you know, to get an email that is not legitimate. These people aren't hacking, they aren't using programs, they're using the old method, they're conning you. And, you know, and they're out there doing it in force.
Yeah, or what they do is if they hack the computer, they'll get their address book of all the people,
Yes.
their addresses, and then they'll send out the emails. So then, like, say your computer, Rick, that you got hacked, right? Okay.
Right.
So now I get an email from you thinking it's you,
Exactly.
right? And then I open it up, bam,
I do
my
that.
address book now is.
Yes,
is,
I do that.
Yep.
Get that all the time. Like one of my friends, I'll say, from John Smith, how are you doing? And if you open it up, bing, then my address book is going to.
Right.
Compromised.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know for any of you listening out there that have been on Facebook. If you ever noticed, you know, you had a friend that you're friends with on Facebook, and then all of a sudden you get a new request saying,
Right.
you know, I got a friend request from a person I've already been friends with. Okay, it's more likely, you know, it's not them; it's somebody else trying to, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll get
imitate,
a Facebook message from that friend and say, do not open another, I did not friend anybody.
Exactly.
You're already my
Yeah.
friend.
Yes. Yep.
So then you mark spam and then report, because you want Facebook to know that
Correct.
this
yes.
is going on.
Yep.
But I mean,
that happens a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, I mean, with the right protection, hopefully that
Yes.
that can solve that. And the same thing with the emails. I mean, I get emails all the time from different people, but there are things you can put in place, as you said, right, to
Yeah.
protect you from doing that.
Yeah.
It's just another layer of protection so your computer doesn't get hacked.
Right. It's just, and it's a layer of protection, just like you said, Rick.
Yeah.
Nothing is 100% foolproof.
That's right.
Okay, so even if you have virus protection, you know, you have the best guys working for you, you still could get hacked, still get a
course.
virus. It's just the nature of the beast.
Of course, you know, and that's
Yeah.
why we do imaging. That's why we take snapshots of servers so that we
Sure.
can spin them back up in crisis.
Chris
You know.
was telling me when he did my computer, that's what he did. So
Yeah.
he says, you know, there is, we can reload what's on your computer now. So
Very
don't
easily,
worry about
right.
it. But
But the spam, Rick, you know, we do have, right now, I prefer the Barracuda device, which we can put in a network behind a firewall that will actually filter all the incoming mail. But these are for people that host their own email.
right.
You know, when you have your own Exchange server, it's a really nasty thing to work with, because that's what the hackers want to hack.
Sure.
They want to hack the Exchange server that has 30 or 50 or 150 or 500 people sending email through it, because then they get all those accounts at once to spam through.
Right.
So they can send out the spam.
And they're not just having fun. I mean, they're selling these things on the dark net so that, you know, they can get into your computer.
That's right.
And also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons why, like you said, you could have the best of everything and something could happen. I mean, because these hackers are developing new things probably every hour. And it's, you know, they're creating ways around the security
Right.
blocks. And I mean, this even goes on in government.
Well, that's why, managed service is really where it's at for people. 24/7 proactive monitoring, that is what works.
Right. And if you're if something does happen, you're right on top of it. And I think peace of mind, I mean, I don't care if a laptop costs $400 or $1,000 or more. You want it to be safe. And,
Definitely.
You can go in and tell people how to be safe.
Yeah, that's another thing that we do also is, when we do look at someone's computer, sometimes that is the call. Hey, you know what? This computer's not worth salvaging. You need a new computer. A lot of times that is the right answer.
Well, sure. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to get a new computer. I think you buy a computer and you want it to last for 50 years. I mean, unfortunately.
But that's also why you don't go out and buy, the most low-end, cheapest deal, which is what a lot of people do.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, or they're still using Windows 7, trying to hang on to that puppy as long as they can.
Hey,
There's still
stop
people
that.
holding on to
Stop
Windows.
that
There's still
now.
people holding on to XP.
Yeah.
You know what? I still have a computer that has XP on it.
There it is.
There you go.
Because it's an old Dell and a tower, and I just keep it because I've got things loaded on there that I could probably switch over.
Yeah, we can
But
back that up.
I just, it's crazy. And you joke about Windows 7 because that's what I have.
I like Windows.
I wish Windows XP never went away because I know it can't do a lot of things that the new ones. Now, even Windows 7 is now not going to be.
End of life.
Right. So
Rick, you're just used to using XP because that's where you probably started from.
Yeah, I did.
And so you had to learn everything you could about XP,
Yeah.
and that's why you're still hanging on to it. And then when they go to Windows 7, people get scared, like, oh, I got to learn Windows 7 all over. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And then all of a sudden Windows 10 comes, and I don't want to do that either. I don't want to go to that. I don't know it. I can't do it. I just want to go back to the other, and that's not the right.
The big change started with NT. NT stood for New Technology at the time. Started with NT. I mean, it changed the whole core of Windows. Like when you look at the old Windows, like Windows 98.
Yep.
And then Windows XP was the the progression of that,
Sure.
and then Windows ME.
Yeah.
Bill needed ME. He needed something that was all about me. But anyway, so those were a different core. It was a whole different build of Windows versus what came out in NT 2000 and then what you're seeing in Windows 7. And now, moving forward into 10 and above. It all revolves around something called Active Directory, which really changed the whole face of networking.
Sure. Well, I think it's
So
Chris.
I'm sorry, Rick.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention, so now thinking ahead in the future, what's going to be the next best operating system?
Sure.
Well, and it's a good question, Chris, honestly, because Windows 7 was the gold standard for users in the network. As a network administrator, I didn't want to see people on Windows 10 or Vista or anything like that. We kept them on 7 for a reason. It works well with the servers.
Yeah.
But now, servers come a long way, especially since the 2012 was released and above. Now you can actually network with the Windows 10 a lot more successfully than when it first came out, that's for sure.
So, Vince, basically you're saying that the companies that put out the servers had to actually catch up with the Windows operating system.
Yeah,
right?
they actually had no choice but to stick with 7 for a long time.
Right,
Yeah.
and then they had to upgrade their firmware or whatever to be compatible with the Windows 10.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we do for people also. Server migrations are one of the biggest things that we do.
Okay.
Someone still sitting there in a business right now with a 2000 or 2003 server, you need to give us a call.
Yeah.